Now let's turn our attention to a great story out of this province, and it has to do, in fact, with the United States and the President of the United States. Now, we're all familiar with Air Force One, right? You know, the plane that the President rides. Doesn't matter who the President is, right? If it's Obama or it's Trump or it's Biden, they're on Air Force One. But they also have a very special type of transport when they're on the ground. It's called Ground Force One. And the company behind the bus that's known as Ground Force One is based right here in Quebec. Prevost has been making these buses since 2012. It's our pleasure to welcome Francois Tremblay onto the program, the president of Volvo Canada and Prevost North America. Francois, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. It's here this morning.
So can we just talk a little bit about Prevost? Because, I think anyone who's driven around in this city has seen a bus with that Prevost emblazoned right at the front. It's quite a success story. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of Prevost?
Yeah, I can sure do that. I mean, actually, we have a long history. Actually, this year we're celebrating our 100 years anniversary, so it's a major milestone, as you can imagine, for the company. For us, a company that started 100 years ago with a carpenter in a small town in Quebec. So it's and the whole story started with the Mr. Eugene Prevost, which is the founder, receiving an order from a customer to build a wooden structure to put it over truck chassis. So basically, and you got one of the first order, second order, and third order, and that's how the story started about 100 years ago. So what people know, yes, people know about that we're carrying people, we have buses, but what they don't know is all the segments we're covering, right? We have the private sector for the tour and charter, for the team, the sport teams. A lot of sport teams are running our product. But also we have the public sector. We just actually landed a contract of almost $500 million with New York City to build 400 coaches for them over the next 2 years, which is, again, great visibility. You would go in New York City right now. We have over 700 units running there already, so that's going to be an add-on to that. But the coolest segment is the segment that we call conversion, which is where we're making motorhomes for the rich and famous, because those units goes to $4 to $5 million Canadian a unit. So as you can imagine, this is a different type of clientele, and we have the music industry also. So basically, 100% right now of the music industry that operates buses, that we're actually going their tours on buses, are running them on Prevost. So we have a really a good presence in that market. So it's great to have a lot of A-listers, artists running on our product during their shows. So we have a variety of product segments that gives us tremendous exposure in the market. So
my goodness,
that's kind of our little story,
Well, it's a great story, and I guess I wonder now, obviously led off with the fact that you make Ground Force One for U.S. presidents. I wonder if I would have been more successful if I started off with Taylor Swift in the music industry with how big it is nowadays. So, Francois, let's go down that path, because I think you're mentioning so many different facets of the company. It's clear that Prevost is firing on all four cylinders, pardon the pun. So let's talk about how you end up in the presidential business. Take me back to 2012 and how you end up making, the bus for the most powerful person on planet Earth.
But typically, presidents and politicians have been exposed to our product for a long time, because normally when they're doing campaign work, they're mainly using buses to go around tour, because they need a bigger, vehicle to carry them, their staff, and also typically you have a lot of journalists, following them, right? So that's why they've been using our buses. So if you go online, you would see a lot of the older presidents, campaigning on our product and during campaign. So that's why they were already exposed to Prevost, during their campaigning work. But this came from the Obama administration, so they were looking for two vehicles to go around, Washington and all that. So that's how the order came in, which was interesting for us, because this is, of course, high visibility, and I have a customer like this. For us, it's a great source of pride, as you can imagine, right? So that's kind of how it started, and typically the orders would come in from the Secret Service, because they're managing the presidential fleet of vehicles that they're operating. So that's how this started. The story started back in 2012 with the Obama administration and the Secret Service, yes.
We are with Francois Tremblay, president of Volvo Canada and Prevost North America, talking about Ground Force One, the bus the president of the United States rides on, and some of the other incredible products that Prevost is making. So, Francois, why don't you just tell me, for Ground Force One, the conversion aspect here, what exactly do you need to do to make a bus up to the standard security and comfort-wise for an American president?
Well, as you can imagine, I cannot get into the details of the specifics of this product, right? Because we're under the seal of secrecy, as you can imagine. This is everything related to the president has to remain, pretty much top secret. But the way it works is with two companies' effort, because what we're doing normally is what we call the shells. We're building in these type of application because the interior of the bus is fully customized and designed to the customer's liking, and we're not in the business of doing that type of highly specialized customized work. So what we're providing is actually the overall shell of the vehicle. So that's the overall structure with the slide outs and everything, but the bus would be empty inside. And basically one of our partners that are specializing in doing the interiors would do the interior work. So it was kind of a two companies tag team effort to basically meet the needs of the requirements for that project.
And let me ask you on the artist side of things. You brought up just how much celebrities are using this in sports teams, that kind of thing. Tell me about some of the unique requests, some of the different things you've done inside your buses that you're particularly proud of.
But it's funny because we can accommodate a lot of things, because depending on what the artist requirement. If you go online for now, you could see Justin Bieber as an example. He walks around and there's a great interview he did with the GQ where he actually shows his tour bus and he goes around presenting all the features that he actually asked to put on the bus. And but this one, it was interesting because he asked for a fireplace in it. So there's an actual fireplace within the bus, in his living room area. So basically, we're quite flexible. If it's feasible, the team will be able to provide it. But basically, that's the kind of things you would see. Basically, one of the I think it was Amanda Lambert. Actually, for her, she was more looking for retro style, and she likes the color pink. So everything is pink, and the fridge would be like a copy of a fridge from the 50s, and everything is more retro style in the bus. So. Basically, our partners can accommodate a lot of the things that the artists would need. But I would tell you that typically they would take more of a vanilla bus because normally they actually, unless they rent it for a longer period, which is where we can really customize, otherwise it would be more of a standard bus with that they would use for the period that they're doing their tour.
Gotcha. Now, listen, I know we start off with the presidents here. What about prime ministers? Do you make the bus for the prime minister? Or is this one of these stories where you're so successful selling to the U.S. and then Canada doesn't buy for you? Tell us on that end.
But it's not many politicians that are using, customized bus for their. Like I said, them during the campaign, but normally they would use more black cars to go around the capital, right? So normally, there's not as many requests there. What we do sell a lot, it's more maybe for the, let's say, Sûreté du Quebec, or you would have the FBI as a command center, right? Because when there's something happening, they need a place to coordinate all the law enforcement agencies and everything. So we have a lot of requests for actually using our bus and making it kind of a command center mobile unit. And so this type of application is something we're doing a lot of also. Oh, yeah. But I would say, besides the U.S. president, we didn't have any specific requests from other governmental leader to have actually a fully customized bus for their needs. No.
Francois, listen, it's a tremendous success story built right here in Quebec. Thanks for sharing.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to share the story and where we're coming from. So thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Have a great day. That's Francois Tremblay right there, president of Volvo Canada and Prevost North America.